Luang was just explaining in response to a question about a dream. Somebody's mother, this lady's mother, many years ago was unconscious for 2 days. They thought she was dead, and she said in that state she had a dream where she seemed to leave her body and experience going to 9 different rooms. Some of these rooms had food and things in that seemed to be things that she'd offered in the past while she was alive to monks, and the dana she'd given representing that. Other rooms were empty, and 9 rooms altogether. And the question was, what did that dream mean or signify? The mother didn't die; she came back to life and was able to recall this dream later. Luang just advised that all such nimittas and dreams are what we call citta sankhara. They're creations, formations of the mind, and we shouldn't always invest in them, sense that they must be always true and to be believed. Sometimes it can just be our imagination. Sometimes it can be telling us something from our own mind, our own intuition, our own wisdom can be telling us something meaningful, but not always. Generally, the causes of dreams they talk about in the scriptures and through tradition that there are dreams caused, we say, by devas. Some dreams are devas warning us, like spirits, devas, angels, warning us of events that are going to come. Some dreams, nimittas, are coming through our own mind's concern about something or contemplation of something, bringing up a nimitta during the dream. Some, they say, come through the disturbance of our 4 elements, meaning this body the Buddha talked about as being made up of 4 elements: earth, air, fire and water. And when those elements are disturbed in different ways, say through illness, tiredness, stress on the body, then they can also affect the mind and give rise to dreams, nimittas. The last one is what we call miraculous dreams or nimittas that maybe come through the influence of other beings, people with very powerful minds, usually good people with a lot of accumulated virtues and barami. They can affect you in a good way, and you generally have a meaningful dream or nimitta. But all these are sankharas, and they all come as a result of karma. And we sometimes can have dreams that seem to be meaningful, like telling us about an event that might be about to happen or warning us. But all of these, when it comes down to it, are coming through karma. And we make karma through our actions. The actions we do with our bodies, physical actions. Actions we perform through speech, verbal karma. And then actions performed through our mind. Just thinking, imagining things, creating things in our mind is already karma, manokarma. If the thoughts we have, the speech we say, the actions we do, if these are wholesome, good, for the benefit of ourselves, others, not for the harm of others, if these are skillful, then these kinds of karma we call kusala, wholesome karma, good karma. If our thoughts or our speech, our actions are stemming from wrong views, mistaken beliefs in things that are not good for us, not auspicious, not worthy of believing in, or coming from unwholesome mind states rooted in greed, anger or delusion, and if they're for bringing harm to oneself and others, we call this akusala karma, unwholesome karma. But all karma arises in our mind from our intentions, our thoughts that arise in the mind first. Say, for example, you have must have had the thought at some point to come here today, either this morning or maybe a day ago. You had the plan. So this morning when you woke up, you might have even had to get up early to come here. You would have had to have that thought, that intention to get up early, travel here. So that's karma already, that's brought you here. And say if you travel here and you use circumspection, care and attention in the way you prepare yourself, the way you drive and get here, then you'll tend to get here smoothly and safely. But if you were to come here, say hurriedly, carelessly, without being careful, you might run into obstacles or have problems. So karma isn't just one intention, it's a series of intentions and acts which will give their different results. In Thailand and other Buddhist countries, when we say someone has karma or is receiving their karma, usually we're referring to it in a bad way. Somebody's having bad luck or problems. But in the Buddhist teaching, karma refers to both the good and the bad, kusala and akusala. And we should remember this. It all stems from intention, good and bad intentions which begin in the mind. But these can change and these are not always clear. What some people might say, oh, this is good karma, this is something good, is not always good. There often are different layers of karma being made or different things affecting the actions we do. A good example of this is this very time, it's Thai New Year, and in Thailand, Sri Lanka, other Southeast Asian countries at this time, it's a time where families come together and pay respects to elders, to parents in particular, parents, grandparents, teachers, where people bring up the quality of friendliness, kindness, and humility. If one is showing respect to an elder, one has to be humble. And then we have the ceremonies like bathing the elders, getting the scented water and flowers and offering flowers, incense to elders, bathing their hands and so on. But these days the meaning of that ceremony is starting to get lost because people are tending to emphasize more the fun aspect of this time of year, especially in hot countries. They'll do a lot of throwing water about, do different kinds of playful, indulgent behavior, and probably most damaging of all, it becomes a time for heavy drinking, like New Year in the West, in January the 1st. So it's a time when people are becoming more intoxicated with things because of the sense of indulgence and particularly the effect of alcohol. And when we become intoxicated, this always feeds our delusion. So when we drink and become drunk, then we forget that we as human beings, we can get injured or we can get ill and hurt. Our bodies are not impregnable, they're not indestructible, but we forget that. Or we might forget that we're all getting older every day. Maybe old people, when they get drunk, they start behaving like young people, think they're young again. Or worst of all is people forget the fact that their life is impermanent, and we can all die. And they start behaving in ways that, risk their lives and actually die. And this festival in Thailand now, in this period of time, there's lots of damage, lots of problems now because people get drunk, they have road accidents and die, they have arguments. So the death toll is very high at this time. So what should be a wholesome ceremony where people remember good things, the debt of gratitude to the parents, they end up with a lot of carnage and death. So the tradition has at the moment turned into something not so good, so that's karma, isn't it? The goodness is less and the bad karma comes through. When people are intoxicated, they tend to lose their sense of personal responsibility. They lose their awareness of what's right and wrong. And they forget, in this case, they forget the true meaning of the festival, the water festival, Thai New Year or Buddhist New Year. That means they'll forget their parents, who they are, what they stand for. They'll forget their debt to the parents. And this state of mind where there's very little gratitude there is one of the worst obstacles to spiritual growth and maturity. Because when we forget the debt of gratitude to our parents, our elders, our teachers, we just can't progress in life, whatever we do, and we're heading towards more suffering, as long as we have that delusion there. So when we do consider the meaning of this New Year time, we go deeper to recognize the fact that our parents have sacrificed so much for us to help us be what we are today, to get us here today. We began our lives as an embryo in our mother's womb, and in an embryo in a mother's womb is completely protected by the mother, on all four sides, as it were. And an embryo baby is given everything quite naturally from the mother: food, nutrition, nourishment, love in many different ways. As long as they're in the mother's womb, it's completely automatic. And then even once born, then kids get so much love and attention from the family, from the parents, material things, education. Our parents give up everything for us. So the sages of old say, in comparison, you could say the width of all the land in the world, all the oceans, is still smaller. That width or that mass of the land and the seas in the oceans of the world is still smaller than the goodness of our parents. And the Buddha said the nature of a parent's love is unconditional, meaning it seeks nothing in return. When we give to our kids, then we just give without thinking, what do I get back? So we should be aware of that at this time. We reflect on it, remember it. And one who is practicing, one who is heedful and mindful in their life, they will remember and recollect this debt and try to repay it in what ways they can. It doesn't just stop when a baby is born. When a kid grows up, they have to have so much attention from the parents. They're looked after, they give them constant attention, protecting them, watching out for their food, what they're eating, their diet, their health, their education. And one of the most valuable things parents do for their kids is give them an idea of what is right and wrong, what is good and bad karma. All of this stems from compassion and kindness of heart. So the Buddha said the parents are they're like what we say Brahma gods. They're as if gods, because they're giving free love and compassion to the kids all the time, unconditional. And the Buddha said we should never forget that truth. He also said it's frightening to consider the consequences of somebody who has forgotten that truth, forgotten about the debt they owe to their parents. Somebody who could actually consider harming their parents, maybe. That person will never progress as long as they hold that view, or that's their state of mind. Even if they're, say, someone who's rich or powerful in society, ultimately they'll always fail, because this is such a powerful bad karma when we say, forget the goodness of our parents, go against them. So this is why we have this ceremony, say once, at the very least once a year, we have people come together, families come together, and we show respect to parents, remember the debt we have to them, and try to look after them. And we have this ceremony of pouring the water. We take that time. It's that important that it's, to give up one day is not very much to show respect to parents. And we gain from that as well. It's a practice of metta, of kindness, friendliness, and so we feel a lot of joy from that. And in the opposite case, if we were to harm them or try to harm them through our actions or our speech, then it's as if we're instantly harming ourselves. And this is something the Buddha said we should contemplate, because if you were to try and destroy your parents through body or speech or just thinking in bad thoughts about them, you're causing yourself instant suffering. And as long as you go on that way, you'll just keep suffering. And it's such powerful bad karma that it's really not worth considering. It's something one should really try to observe and changing oneself.